What's up? This is my first video. Because of the content of what I'm talking about, I've decided not to use my real name. So I'm going with Conino. Welcome to my room. So this is my first trip I'm about to tell you about. Very first trip ever. I would start with my first time using weed, because that's what kind of got me into psychedelics, because weed is a psychedelic. Just a light, very light psychedelic. Anyways, it was my freshman year, and at this time in my freshman year, I had already done weed and tried ecstasy or whatever. But I wanted to get shrooms. I had been reading a lot of trip reports online about it, and I was able to get some from someone that was in percussion with me, because I was a little drummer faggot. And it was the bass player. He was able to get me an eighth of shrooms and told me to be careful, only do half or something like that. But I was like, fuck that. So the day that I got them at school, I knew I was going to do them, even if my parents were home or whatever. I didn't care. So I went home, and my mom was setting up to have a bunch of friends over, of her friends, for a card game or something. So I remember thinking at least she would be distracted downstairs maybe while I do this upstairs. And I don't think my father was home. He was on a trip or something. Ironic. Coincidental, I should say. Anyways, let's get to it. I'm taking forever here. So I took the bag out of my pocket, if I remember correctly, in the playroom. Is what we called it, the rec room. Big room upstairs. It was good day out, sun was out, and I was in a good mood, and I was just ready to do the whole eighth. So I ate them with chips because they were kind of gross. So I sandwiched them in between Doritos or something like that and ate the whole eighth. And I remember thinking it was kind of spicy. It was a weird taste. And just was waiting for it to hit while I was watching Wizards of Waverly Place up in our rec room with the sun all in there, and it was a good vibe. It was a good day. I was worried about my pupils getting big and my mom noticing, but other than that, I was in a good mindset. So I hadn't smoked weed or done anything else, and it had been about 45 minutes since I ate them, and I was checking my time. It was like 4 or something. And that's when I noticed stuff starting to look kind of shaky and like a little bit more blurry and kind of had sharper edges to it. And I started feeling kind of like different, kind of something was changing in me, but this was very, very beginning. So I was getting up and walking around, and I noticed that the first thing is that I started to feel like a little more bouncy, like my step felt bouncier, and I felt like I was taking longer strides and stuff. And it starts to hit me a little bit, and I'm noticing that now the shakiness is kind of turning into like the textures on my pants were starting to kind of look a little bit wavy, and I knew, like, here it comes. And I can't say with any amount of words how I started to feel next, but I got up, and it looked like my feet were way down there, like 10 feet down, and stuff started feeling really stretchy, and the wall started breathing a little bit. And I remember walking across my playroom, rec room, whatever, and it felt like I was on a people mover at the airport. I felt like I wasn't even trying to move really, and I was just floating around the room. So stuff started getting weird and weirder there. Time started to stop making sense to me. I would look at my phone and I would see a certain time, and it wouldn't mean anything. I had no idea. Like, I was trying to figure out what those numbers meant. I almost felt like I had shifted into like put my foot in the door of another dimension, because at my house I could still find my way around, but it felt like I was in a weird dream version of my house or something, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around what was going on. Once I finally like got into the trip, I remember just being so entertained by how it felt to walk. I would just walk around my upstairs through each room and stuff, and it felt like every time I went in a new room, I was entering a new section of my brain or something. I kind of had like, my ego felt different. I wasn't able to associate with how I know myself. I felt like a different person almost in my shoes. Like, how did I get here? One really important thing I noticed is that I felt a heavy feeling, a heavy like sensation of deja vu that was really peculiar. Like, I felt like I'd been there before. Like, this was some place I had been that is timeless or something. And I kept saying, stop trying to make sense of it, because every time I tried to make sense of what I was experiencing, I would just get mind fucked terribly, like in a mind fuck like loop where I would get stuck on a thought and couldn't escape. So I was having basically a little adventure time, tripping upstairs, walking from room to room, calling people, like telling them I didn't know what was going on, but like I was having a good time. Taking a piss was crazy. It felt kind of like fizzing, but well, that's to be expected because psilocybin is pretty close to serotonin and its structure, its chemical structure. I remember getting a weird idea that there's lemurs everywhere, even though I didn't see it. I just kind of felt like there was lemurs around. Something else that happened when I went outside, because I had not ran into my mom yet, surprisingly, but I was kind of tripping about it, so I decided to go outside. I walked outside and just, the way I felt, like I felt so connected to everything out there in nature, and like that I could just explode into the sky, into my surroundings or something. But a car drove by, and the noise it made when it drove by is one that I'll never remember, but I'll also never forget. It was a noise that like touched my soul strings, like tickled the strings in my soul. I don't know how else to describe it, but the way the car sounded when it went by, just I never heard a sound like that. It was like I could feel the sound in another dimension in a way I never had before. I could feel the sound with my third eye or something. It was weird. But I can never, what I noticed about the shrooms is stay in one spot. I was always like, no, I need to go here, or I need to go there. Once I got to that place, I wouldn't be content. I'd like, oh, we need to go somewhere else, go play music here, go do that, go do this. The whole trip was me trying to enjoy the trip, and then only realizing that the whole time I was enjoying it after it, because during it, you're tripping, and you trip on things like that someone's gonna see your pupils, or you're gonna get caught, or like that someone's coming for you or something, and that you need to go somewhere else. But the whole time, you have to accept that it's happening, and it's gonna run its course. One other thing I can remember is my mom telling me from downstairs that she wanted me to come help her cut some stuff with scissors, and I was tripping, and I couldn't understand what she meant by that. Like, I imagined scissors, and I knew I used to know how to do it, but I couldn't fully comprehend how to pick up the scissors in my head, so I decided not to go down there. Luckily for me, I didn't run into my mom the whole trip. She was downstairs busy, but I was brave enough to trip while she was home, and it ended up paying off. It was the single most profound moment in my life that day. I felt like I had gone to the place that you go before you're alive and after you die, or something like that. It was really deep, and felt like a dream I had before or something. Something else that I noticed that happened was my sister came into the rec room with two of her friends, and I couldn't make out which one was my sister. They all just looked like three faces, and also when they were talking, I could not understand what they were saying. I could hear individual words like park, grass, hey, yo, do you know? It was just like, it wasn't a full-on sentence. It was just words being strung together, and that kind of tripped me out too. But something that happened that I won't be able to ever explain to you fully is the time dilation, and how you can't comprehend time. Like, you cannot understand what it means to be half an hour into the trip or an hour into a trip. Time becomes totally relative at that point. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to do a report of this trip when I'm not tired and really baked, and when I can talk louder and have more energy, but I just felt like I needed to get a video up, so yeah, hopefully I'll be doing more trip stories and stuff, because I've tripped on a lot of things and have quite a bit of experience. But if you're just getting into this type of thing, I recommend looking up Terrence McKenna. He has some good advice and some good explanations of tripping, but it really is a trip. You feel like you go somewhere else and you have been there before. And for me, it was an inviting place. It was really inviting. It was nice to me. I felt in touch with like this inner empathy that I hadn't been in touch with before as much. But last thing is, when I was tripping that day, and I felt like I was seeing the dimensions of the walls like stretching out, and I could see how stuff was really supposed to look, and super vibrant. The colors were vibrant. No colors changed completely, like the grass wasn't purple or anything, but colors were different colors, barely, just a little bit changing, shifting. But one thing I noticed is I couldn't comprehend what it would be like to be at school just doing normal things, because your mindset when you're tripping is so far out, you can't recall any normal tasks. Like, it's like in order to gain that new knowledge of some of these higher concepts, more abstract fractal like visions, you have to give up the subsequent things that are easy in your brain. I don't know how to put it into words, but I forgot a lot of very common things I should know, and they became hard to do. But I was able to come up with brilliant visions and ideas, and it was a trip. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip story. I mean, I feel like I could do a better job telling the story, so I'll probably recap sometime in the future, but I just wanted to get one video up at least, so that's that. Thanks for watching.